Hello, what's up there, YouTube? I figured I was going to make a little bit of an addendum and clarification of a couple points that I was talking about whenever it comes to the Verlisify video. Basically, everyone knows I reacted to Verlisify and his supposed methodical destruction of Pokemon with black and white, and you see how fucking stupid that his argument was. But I did make a couple statements that I kind of wanted to clarify. Talking about, why I think Gen 5 is actually one of the best. His supposed, Zoomer bullshit that he was trying to say, it's the Zoomer game, it was pandering, all that shit. And the thing is, because of the fact that he supposedly respects the olden games of back then because they were actually difficult and sometimes you needed a guide and all that shit, and then he'll criticize these games for being too fucking difficult and not hand-holdy. Yeah, you see the flaw in his fucking logic. It's flip-flops like a fucking fish. But I also stated in the video that I do think that we can consider Pokemon to be the J.R.R. Tolkien of video games. I kind of wanted to make a clarification of this point and show you my thoughts and my reasoning for this point. You see, Pokemon is a series that has different game mechanics overlapping and kind of looping into one another. You can have different goals within a Pokemon game. One is to try and catch one of every Pokemon, creating a living dex, and by doing that, also filling out the Pokedex. The Pokedex I consider to be an absolute genius mechanic. It's not even just a gameplay mechanic, a gameplay incentive, but it is also a literary device because it's used as, producing flavor text for a Pokemon and seeing how they interact with a culture, of within the world of Pokemon. The way that humans interact and research into a Pokemon is much like how research for new species is done in our world. It's a lot of the same thing. It's primarily about observation and seeing how they behave in their environment. This is the thing I absolutely love about Pokemon. But, sorry, couple basset hounds here just doing what they do. But as I was stating before, this is the thing I absolutely love about Pokemon. Let's go. Well, okay, Flash. And I'll go, but okay. But as I was saying before, it's used as a type of literary device that you don't really often see in a lot of games. Yes, you do kind of see a big bestiary within a lot of even older RPGs, such as Final Fantasy. But really, all they show is just kind of small stats, and they don't really have a lot to do with world building. And this is what I think the Pokedex does explicitly well. And there's also my love for Gen 5 is seeing the cultural appreciation that they do have for America by having lots of different Pokemon from, honestly, a lot of different places. There's a lot of different inspirations for various different Pokemon. And I think this also goes to show, because of the fact that America is a very, very diverse, multicultural place, whether you like it or not, it's the truth. We are a melting pot. or have been, an absolute melting pot of various different ethnicities and different cultures integrating. God damn it. But various different, we're a melting pot of various different groups, ethnicities, and cultures melding together through immigration, creating the incredibly diverse nation that we have now. Honestly, Unova is a shining example. This is the reason why we can have Pokemon from so many different cultures just within one Pokedex. This is the reason why Pokemon like Cofagrigus, are from Unova. Why Darumaka and Darmanitan exist. I might be talking about the idea of regional variants and whatnot at a later date, but it's still something to really be awe-inspired by. I also really like the fact that some Pokemon are incredibly culturally relevant. The reason why, say, the 3 elemental monkeys, the reason why they have their design, it's typically a lot of them, it's due to the fact they're based off of the three evils. See no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. Those three But those 3 are based off of that, and then they grow into kind of biker gang culture deals, which, if you know America, bikers, pretty big deal. It's very, very, it's pretty common in the culture, at least in a lot of places in American culture. Whether good or bad, really all up to the individual. There are some bad bikers out there, I'm not going to lie. There are also a lot of great ones who don't want to cause any harm, and they're just, they just love to ride. It's pretty cool. But that is definitely one thing I find so fascinating. It's just how culturally relevant a Pokemon can be, such as, say, the Vanillite line. The reason why I said the Vanillite line was rather culturally relevant. A friend of mine and we actually kind of talked about this. He was saying the reason why Vanillite was, to him, a pretty cool Pokemon is because of the fact he thought it was because it was a little bit of social commentary saying that a lot of Americans are typically obese. However, I actually kind of counteracted this statement with the idea that New York is actually incredibly famous for ice cream, which is the reason why the Castelia cone exists. And it would also be an explanation to why the Vanillite line exists. And he honestly did not notice that point, but it was so fascinating to see, the fact that we came to an appreciation for a Pokemon that's very, very rarely appreciated, but as soon as we began to dive deeper into the inspirations, into the design of a Pokemon, we gained newfound appreciation. This is also the reason why I would say Trubbish and Garbodor. We have in America a pretty big problem of pollution, and Garbodor and Trubbish are very, very big statements about that. I find that to be really, really intelligent design. I know a lot of people would say that's, it's probably thinking too deeply into this, but seeing as how, say, recently in New York City, the air was said to be so fucking bad that it's actually an incredibly unhealthy place to live, even though, yes, that was only this year, the road has been paved to that direction for a long while. I would say since before 2010 came along and these games came out. But things like that, and not even just that, but we also got a wide array of various different Pokemon. I could also say that potentially Cofagrigus is a testament to the history of Pokemon. We have Sock and Throw, various different famous martial artists have inspired that. We also have a fairly big goth scene here in America. America, that the nation which popped up to, the founding members of White Wolf, which would eventually bring us the World of Darkness, like some of the gothiest games out there. It's and then we got the Gothita line. I could also possibly say that maybe there was a little bit of inspiration from the whole the pro-choice, pro-life debate with Solosis and Runikless. At least, maybe I'm digging too deep into it, but using a little bit of science here, we can also see how it is. It's kind of like an embryo. You see when, gestation period, you'll learn this later in school. If you're a kid watching this, you really shouldn't be watching this. But the thing is, with the gestation period before a baby is born, it starts off as one cell, then multiplies, exponentially. And I would actually go so far as to say, I think that's kind of what Runikless is. It's a little bit of commentary about this debate, and also that bit of sex ed, to be honest. It's something that I very much respect. I like when Pokemon does a lot of has a lot of depth to their designs, and honestly, I could see Pokemon does this in fucking spades. This is the reason why I absolutely loved the fairy type and things like this. It was actually a lot smarter. It wasn't even just in terms of game design, which they needed to, because dragons were fucking busted back in Gen 5. Generation 6 kind of remedied that, and then also made fairies incredibly fucking broken. But eventually it kind of balanced itself out over time. But that was definitely one of the things, and not even just that, but America was also the starting of a change in the world. I mean, we're talking, post-Enlightenment period. It was a radical shift. And that radical shift was the start, if anything, we could say that the founding of our country was a massive turning point in history. We became the most powerful nation of the world. Whether or not we use that power for good, it's fucking debatable. I'm not going to fucking lie here. There are things that my country has done that I am incredibly fucking ashamed of, and things that I am really irritated in terms of policy. But that's neither here nor there. But creating a game based on America where a lot of things were because a founding philosophy of the idea of individual freedom and liberty and, rights. It was something rather new and unheard of. Having a country founded off those principles could possibly have been a massive inspiration because it was a philosophy that really brought it. We had people like Thomas Paine, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. These were people who were rather intellectual. We could say that philosophy was a very, very, very big deal in the world. I mean, it shifted global politics and global relations to such a degree. Who knows if who knows how different the world would be? It would be drastically different if these founding fathers did not do what they did. What And like I said, it's still rather debatable about all the things that America has done throughout the course of its almost 250 years. But it is something to kind of look at as well whenever we see a region where a lot of the core of the game, and especially its story, it's of philosophy, it's a philosophical debate, and it's also about ethics. I find that to be a little bit of not necessarily tongue-in-cheek, it's a very, very obscure idea that I have of these games, but I find, looking at it in this lens, I appreciate the games even more. I know a lot of people really didn't necessarily care for Black and White when they first came out, but I actually have a lot of appreciation over time. And that appreciation has definitely grown more. I did appreciate the games for what they were as just Pokemon games, and I also enjoyed seeing all the new Pokemon. This is one of the reasons why I say I really do wish that they would just have it to where only new Pokemon would be seen throughout the game up until post-game. And I really do think it was one of the best ideas that they've had. I'm a very, very big fan of having, Pokemon games do that from now on. The core problem with this is, I would say up until Gen 9, Gen 6, 7, 8, the Pokedex numbers were rather small. So, doing that wouldn't necessarily have worked. However, with something like Gen 9, yeah, I can kind of see it. They could have done it. Really kind of made me sad that they didn't, but all in all, I really did like a lot of the new Pokemon for Gen 9. Not even just in terms of design, but abilities were pretty damn cool. Some of the Pokemon were incredibly simple in terms of kind of theory. I mean, we got Flamigo. Flamigo was a rather simple Pokemon, and then, basically kind of stat pillar, but I don't think we've ever had a Flamenco Pokemon before, so it was something pretty cool. But stuff like that is the thing I absolutely love that Pokemon does, and it does super well. Like I've said, world building. I also love to see how various different Pokemon will interact within the world, and I want them to make another Legends game with this focus in mind. Like, think about this. I was playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. What did I happen to see? I happened to see a fucking Zangoose and Seviper interact with each other. My input not fucking needed. The thing that they were doing, they were fighting each other, because in the Pokedex entries, and it's stated, like, throughout all the fucking Pokedexes since they were introduced, Seviper and Zangoose fucking despise each other. I am talking like, Jesus Christ, you guys think Bloods and Crips fucking hate each other? Nah, fam. Like, at least in terms of, like, extreme, adversity, and, in the face of disaster, people who are in the Bloods and who are in the Crips will come together and, help to solve a problem in the community, whether or not, they'll help to solve the problem they kind of cause. Is debatable. Let's be honest. It is debatable about that. But whenever it comes to a massive societal level problem, that they're not the cause of, they will kind of come together and help other people out. And that is something that I very much respect. I love it when... But, as I was saying about Zangoose and Seviper, that shit don't fucking fly. No, they will rip into each other the first chance they get. And that, to me, the fact that that's been, that was acted upon, and it's an observable behavior within the games, that's what I want more of. That's what I love. This is world building. And that's one of the things I absolutely loved about this game. I want to see more of. Because I know, and seeing that makes anyone, it tells anyone, kind of with a thinking brain, Pokemon does have that form of potential. That massive amount of world building, it's there. It's so blatantly there, but it's just, it's a diamond in the rough. They just don't have all the rough out yet. And I think as soon as they can get their footing, and there was a statement made by the company's COO, I believe, that they are looking into their development schedule of games, and I think they're starting to realize, with the incredibly botched fucking release that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet had, because the games came out with fucking issues. There's no fucking lie about that. There was even save data fucking corruption issues. Taking that into account, Pokemon needs to slow down. And I think, everyone was kind of noticing this whenever it came to, we all just kind of, we all fucking just dropped our jaws whenever they announced, yes, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were going to be open world. We were pretty excited, but I do think for a lot of us, there was something in the back of our minds of trepidation because of the fact they were hot off the... Pokemon Legends Arceus came out practically less than a month before Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were announced. Let that sink in. Less than a month after Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is a game that for some people it was kind of, say IGN, and for a lot of us, this is also one of the reasons why we make fun of IGN, because we could not possibly disagree more about this game. It was something that almost all of us, minus Verlisify because he's a contrarian cunt, all of us were, borderline all of us were in agreement. Legends Arceus is going to go down in history for Pokemon fans as one of the best games that they've ever done. It was an absolute redemption arc for Pokemon in just one game. However, they kind of slouched out. And this is the thing that I would love to say to the Pokemon community if they were to ever see this. Do not become complacent. Always strive for better. Look at what the look at the fan reception of Pokemon Legends Arceus. You were going in the right direction with that game, and that is no joke. All of us were saying, yes, this is what we want. We want more of this. Do this. Just hasten everything whenever it comes to combat. Give us that control over our characters whenever we're watching a battle, just in a battle and we're moving our characters to the side. We're, kind of looking at, we're controlling the camera itself. That on its own was amazing, and that is something that I want to see more of. And I would love, but like I said, I've been wanting to kind of clarify these points, and if you disagree, let's have an incredibly civil discussion. I think discussion, good faith debate, and I do mean actually good faith debate, would be phenomenal to have. I would like to, maybe in some way, kind of become a PokeTuber, also diving into some political rants and stuff. If you disagree, I mean, I'm kind of going to do what I want anyway, so you don't have to watch those videos. But if you like Pokemon, yeah, let's have some discussion. I'm also going to be talking about One Piece as well, so yeah. Hopefully, you guys will stick around and have some fun. Have some discussions about your favorite Pokemon generation, even if it's Gen 1. Just saying. I'm not throwing shade at Gen 1 lovers. I mean, it's the generation that started it all. We got to give it that, that respect. Also, some of the, 1/2 of the coolest Pokemon, namely Mewtwo. Yeah, that's about it. I'm sorry. I can't really say anything else about Gen 1 other than the games were buggy as fuck, and I'm still fucking wondering how the hell it was coded. But, not even just that, but the background lore and exploration, Lavender Tower, the story of Marowak and Cubone, those were great elements. That's about it. But, either way, signing out, folks. Be kind to one another. Stay based.